Why did the FBI under Director Comey want to undermine the Trump administration?
I don't know. You'll have to ask him.
Think it might have been political? How will Director Comey be held accountable for his leaks and classified information concerning the Russian collusion hoax?
Well, anyone. Doesn't matter what you did before or what seat you were in.
Alabama is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Director Patel, for being here today. Newly declassified documents confirm that the intelligence community under President Barack Obama knowingly relied on unverified and fraudulent evidence to manufacture a false claim that Russia, in fact, meddled in the 2016 election. Is there more to be done to uncover the depths and origins of the Russian collusion hoax?
There is, and we're doing it.
Why should Americans still care about that, Director Patel?
Everybody wants to talk about a weaponized bureaucracy. And when we put out the facts about a weaponized bureaucracy, not because I said so, but because we found the FISA documents, because we found the 302s and the 1023s, then it becomes a political football. My job is to continue to put out that information and let the American public read it for themselves when I'm lawfully able to do so. And that's been my commitment on any subject, Russiagate or otherwise. Wherever the law allows me to do it, I will do it.
You know, when I first came in 2020, the number one concern as I was doing town halls was the weaponization of the government against the American citizen. And so, are there things that you're doing, structural reforms that implementing so that the FBI cannot be weaponized again, whether it's against President Trump or future elected presidents?
Well, it shouldn't be weaponized against anyone. And the structural reform is simple. If you're going to go after a political individual or someone seeking political office, there has to be a grounded basis in law and fact to open up a criminal investigation. And if there's not, the investigation isn't even opened. And I've also gone back and reviewed other cases that were opened in prior administrations related to public officials. And we've closed a number of them because we felt that some of these actions were weaponized on either side of the aisle. I felt it wholly inappropriate for the FBI to be playing umpire and referee amongst these decision makers when there was no factual or legal basis to continue those investigations, so I shut them down.
And I think that's so desperately needed because we need to restore trust in law enforcement and certainly in the DOJ and the FBI so that the American people don't fear the very government that's supposed to protect them. And so thank you for doing that. On August 11th, you released to the committee documents concerning leak investigations that began in 2017. Do you believe these leaks were accidental or were they intentional in order to influence public opinion against President Trump?
When I can publicly make a final decision on that, either through a recommendation of charging that the DOJ makes or findings that I have, I'm able to do so, but they're still not complete.
Why did the FBI under Director Comey want to undermine the Trump administration?
I don't know. You'll have to ask him.
Think it might have been political? How will Director Comey be held accountable for his leaks and classified information concerning the Russian collusion hoax?
Well, anyone. Doesn't matter what you did before or what seat you were in. If you leaked classified information, that's illegal. And we will investigate it fully. And if we can bring enough evidence to recommend charges to the Department of Justice, we will. But as you know, in these leak investigations, it's very difficult to produce the information necessary. We know leaks happen. They literally happen every week. It's one of the most destructive things to this country. Media receives classified information beneficial to one side or the other. I'm a fan of none of it, and I want to shut all of it down. And we need to bring some real cases to deter individuals from doing that, and that's my focus.
What was Comey's role in creating the ICA?
You know, speaking from my memory, as the head of the FBI, he was charged under then Director Brennan, and Director Clapper and the other IC elements to come in with the NSA, CIA, FBI, and ODNI and put together a collection of information on how the information sort of surrounding Russiagate came together. So he represented the FBI in that.
Was former Director of CIA John Brennan, he's denied that the Steele Dossier was used in creating the ICA. Is that true?
Well, without commenting on him, the FISA has been released, and the dossier was in the FISA. It was in 4 FISAs. So I'll let the public decide.
Well, former Director Brennan actually denied repeatedly that he pushed for the Steele Dossier to be included in the ICA. Is that true?
I'll let his testimony speak for itself, but then Deputy Director Andy McCabe also testified to the House Intelligence Committee, which has now been declassified, that were there no Steele Dossier, there would have been no FISA.
Well, my time's getting close, but let me tell you this, sir, and my colleague from Texas said, thank you for the job you're doing. You're making the American people safe. You're restoring trust in these agencies that so many of us had lost trust in. So thank you for the work you're doing. That thin blue line, you're doing a fine job, and we want to let you know we appreciate it. Thank you. God bless you.
Lady from California is recognized.
At Wednesday's House Judiciary Committee hearing, Representative Barry Moore, Republican Alabama, pressed FBI Director Kash Patel on the origins of the Russia investigation and the broader issue of government overreach. The exchange centered on newly declassified documents that, according to Moore, showed the intelligence community under President Barack Obama had knowingly relied on unverified evidence to build the narrative that Russia interfered in the 2016 election. Moore asked if more still needed to be done to uncover the full story behind what has often been called the Russian collusion hoax. Patel answered firmly, "There is, and we're doing it." Patel explained that his commitment from the beginning has been to release information to the public wherever the law allows. He said his role is not to spin or politicize the findings, but to provide transparency so that Americans can judge for themselves. He recalled that when he began his work in 2020, the single most common concern raised in town halls was that the federal government was being weaponized against its own citizens. According to Patel, the only way to rebuild trust is through structural reform inside the FBI. He outlined those reforms in simple terms. If an investigation involves a political candidate or a public official, it must have a firm grounding in law and fact before it is even opened. Without that, Patel said, no case should proceed. He added that he had personally reviewed past cases involving elected officials or candidates and had closed a number of them because they were politically charged and lacked a proper foundation. In his view, the FBI should never be in the position of acting as umpire and referee between competing political forces. Moore then turned to the matter of leaks. He referenced documents Patel had released in August concerning leak investigations that dated back to 2017. He asked whether those leaks were intentional efforts to damage Donald Trump's presidency or simply accidental. Patel declined to give a final answer, noting that the investigations remain open and that conclusions can only be shared when either the DOJ makes charging decisions or the FBI completes its findings. The questioning grew sharper when Moore brought up former FBI Director James Comey. He asked directly why the Bureau under Comey appeared to want to undermine the Trump administration. Patel responded cautiously, saying he could not speak to Comey's motives. However, he was clear on one point. Leaking classified information is illegal no matter who does it. He stressed that his office investigates all such cases, and if enough evidence exists to support charges, those cases are referred to the Department of Justice. Still, Patel admitted that leak investigations are notoriously difficult to prove, even though leaks occur every week and are among the most damaging threats to national security. Moore also pressed Patel on whether the Steele Dossier, a now discredited collection of opposition research, was central to the intelligence assessments of Russian interference. Patel pointed out that public documents already show the dossier was included in 4 separate FISA applications. He contrasted this with the repeated denials of former CIA Director John Brennan, who claimed he did not push for the dossier to be included. Patel refrained from speculating further but reminded the committee of Deputy FBI Director Andy McCabe's sworn testimony, later declassified, in which McCabe admitted that, were there no Steele dossier, there would have been no FISA. As his time expired, Moore closed with praise for Patel. He thanked him for shutting down politically motivated cases, for releasing key documents to the public, and for taking steps to restore faith in both the FBI and the Department of Justice. You're making the American people safe, Moore said, adding that Patel's efforts are helping to rebuild confidence in institutions that many Americans had grown to distrust. He described Patel's role as holding the thin blue line of law enforcement, and he offered his gratitude and blessings for the work being done. The exchange underscored not only the ongoing debates over the origins of the Russia investigation, but also the broader fight over how to keep federal law enforcement independent of political pressure. Patel's answer suggested he sees transparency and strict adherence to legal standards as the only path forward to prevent the weaponization of government against any president, past, present, or future.